Just a little boy debuting in little old Toro Rosso. Surely he won't turn out to be another future dominating world champion in the making like a certain German, right? Max Verstappen has come a long way from being the youngest F1 driver ever. He's now public enemy #1 anywhere that isn't the Netherlands or Belgium.
Because I'm Dutch.
But seriously, you have to be special to be on the F1 grid at only 17. And you have to be even more special to be the youngest ever point scorer and rookie of the year on a grid that boasted the likes of Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, Kimi Raikkonen, and Fernando Alonso. But did you know that Max's life wasn't always plain sailing? That he had to learn how to drive with handicaps? Yeah, really. Trust me, this not-so-little champion's story is one you'll wanna hear. The F1 world was truly shaken to its core when the struggling Daniel Kvyat was unceremoniously booted out of the Red Bull senior team after just 4 races into the season. I mean, who needs stability and a chance to improve when you can have a shock driver change mid-season, right? Red Bull wanted to do Kvyat a favor and remove him from the spotlight. And what better way to do that than by thrusting young Verstappen right into it? I would have loved to be a fly on the wall in Kvyat's bedroom. And boy, did Verstappen make an entrance. On his debut for Red Bull at the Spanish Grand Prix, he not only took on the likes of Vettel, Raikkonen, and Ricciardo, seasoned veterans with world titles under their belts, but he also emerged victorious, becoming the youngest race winner in F1 history at a tender age of 18. Ah yes, a record that's as untouchable as him during the 2022 season. It was in that glorious moment that Verstappen showcased his instinctive ability, his magical gift of daring overtakes, flawless pole laps and recoveries from sideways slides. I mean, who needs practice and experience when you have natural talent oozing from your pores? And let's not forget that iconic Verstappen moment in Brazil, where he managed to keep the car away from the wall.
Okay, well held, Max, well held.
Truly an inspiration to us all, especially those who struggle with the basic concept of staying on track. Nikita Mazepin. And that's without even talking about the downright mind-boggling mastery of the car he displayed in the wet. Seriously though, that was freakish. What is wrong with him? According to the wise words of Lambiase, Verstappen possesses an extremely rare natural talent. He has this innate feeling, this divine connection between himself, the car, and the road. It's like a spiritual bond, a culmination of pure automotive bliss. I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about it. But what about his driving style? Well, he's a man who knows what he wants. He doesn't settle for a car that's slower than a Mercedes, or prone to aerodynamic stall at the rear. Oh no! He wants a car that's quick, has a good grip, and a rear end that won't embarrass him in the corners. I mean, who doesn't want a car like that? But Verstappen, oh, he's special. He's a man who demands what other drivers merely desire. He's a rebel with a cause, a maverick on the track. And of course, we've got to talk about his aggression. The man approaches Formula 1 like it's war. Verstappen was quite the wild one in his earlier years, but hey, he's apparently calmed down a bit now, allegedly. I mean, who can blame him for being aggressive?
I think if I get a few more, I'll headbutt someone.
It's not like sportsmanship matters when you're one of the most skilled drivers in F1 history, right? The stewards must have a tough time figuring out whether Verstappen's moves were daring or just plain naughty. It's definitely a head-scratcher when he's involved. But Max wasn't always this way. He wasn't born with the grace of a charging rhino on fire. He wasn't always the Max we know and love, or hate, today. No, his style, his talent was something that was cultivated over his life. Max started his journey with a story we've all heard a million times before. You know the drill, a kid obsessed with wheels and engines but held back by slightly hesitant parents. So, what did little Max do? Oh, nothing much. He was just casually driving quad bikes at the ripe old age of 2. I mean, who needs to learn to walk when you can rev an engine, right? By the time he hit 4, he saw a friend karting, and naturally his curiosity kicked in. With the charm of a relentless salesman, Max begged his dad to let him have a kart. Jos, being the cautious parent that he is, resisted at first. But hey, what's a few tears and some incessant pleas from a determined 4-year-old? Eventually, Max's mother joined his cause, and voila! They finally gave in and let him hop into a kart at the tender age of 4.5. Jos fondly recalls that momentous occasion. Oh, it was at Genk, on the rental circuit. Max was in a tiny go-kart. We still have that relic hanging in our merchandise shop, you know, just for nostalgia's sake. But here's the kicker, after a few laps he was zooming around the entire track at full throttle. And because of the vibrations, the carburetor kept falling off. One day that madness was enough for us, so we immediately upgraded him to a bigger go-kart. And so, the legend of Verstappen, the prodigious talent, began. At the age of 7, he won his first race. By 9, he was already a champion in Belgium and the Netherlands. Oh, but he didn't stop there. More domestic titles followed in the coming years. By the time he reached the age of 13, he had snatched a hat-trick of WSK titles in his first year in Europe, and even became the runner-up in the CIK FIA World Cup. By the time Max hit 16, his final year in karting, he was already a world and European champion in the discipline's most competitive and professional classes. That's right folks, this guy was on fire! His CRG team boss, Giancarlo Dinini, couldn't contain his awe. Max has an extraordinary mastery of the vehicle. He gushed, few racers can make a difference in the first 2 laps of a race, but Max, he's one of them. I mean, why even bother with the rest of the race when you can just dominate from the get-go, right? That's always fun. Now, whenever we talk about Max Verstappen's childhood, we have to talk about his dear old dad turned trainer turned tyrant, Jos Verstappen. Jos, who never quite reached the heights he dreamed of in F1, was determined to live vicariously through his son. He insisted that Max understood that driving was the ultimate priority. He didn't want Max to get muddied up in all the mechanics and the data. No, that was for losers. And Jos was a winner. Yeah, I felt disgusting saying that. Do you know what I won't feel disgusted saying though? Asking you to subscribe, so please subscribe. Jos had some unconventional methods up his sleeve when training Max too. Picture this, Jos sends Max to make some changes to the kart, all without a word of explanation. The goal was to improve his feedback, and let's not forget the relentless testing, even when rain poured, and sensible people packed up and went home. In races, Jos would challenge his own son, because apparently, winning too easily just isn't fun. He would tell Max that he couldn't overtake in a certain corner or a specific part of the track, just to spice things up. Oh, the nerve! Jos tried to make racing more difficult for young Max, forcing him to find new and creative ways to overtake. How considerate of Jos to make sure his son faced some adversity in his otherwise smooth-sailing racing career. Such a loving father. Really, Jos was all about the feeling. Oh yes, the mystical art of intuition. He didn't want Max to become reliant on boring old data. No, no, no. Jos wanted his son to experience it all firsthand. He showed Max how to react to every different situation, to understand the grip in wet conditions, to rely on his eyes and the feeling of his wheel. It was like a beautiful dance between man and machine, except the machine was a kart and the man was a teenager with a bright future ahead. Verstappen today talks about adaptability like it's a walk in the park, as if he was born with a steering wheel in his hand. I mean, who needs years of experience when you've been carefully molded into a driving prodigy? At the bright age of 25, he's already got more intuition and feel than most drivers will ever achieve. Oh, and let's not forget about the vast knowledge gained from his whopping 1 year in F3. Clearly that's all you need to conquer the Formula 1 world. The basics are the same, folks, it's just a matter of constantly adjusting, adapting, and pretending like you know what you're doing. Experience schmexperience. Verstappen is the epitome of nature and nurture coming together. It's not just about natural talent or upbringing, but both. Although, let's be real, the nurture part may have been a tad too intense, so it wasn't much of a surprise when Verstappen was hailed as Lewis Hamilton's heir apparent during his early exploits in Formula 1. It was even less of a surprise in 2021 when he even managed to halt Hamilton's title run. It was even less of a surprise when he dominated the next season and put Charles Leclerc in a spliff to win his second driver's title. So it isn't just his style that's won him the plaudits that he has. Verstappen, the aggressive prodigy with finesse, is a master of adaptability. and a poster child for harsh and intense racing education, whether you like it or not. Remember to subscribe so I can keep pumping out more exciting F1 content for you guys. And make sure to watch my other video on why don't F1 cars have closed cockpits. See you all there!